If you're over 60, let me ask you something simple. What do you believe is the safest time of day for your heart? Most people would say nighttime. After all, you're resting, relaxed, asleep. But the truth is, that's not always when your heart is safest. In fact, for millions of older adults, night is the most dangerous time. And the worst part? You won't feel it coming. I've spent over 30 years working with patients who felt perfectly fine during the day. They ate well, exercised, took their medications, and followed every rule. But something changed the moment they closed their eyes. And for some, that change was irreversible. One man in particular still stays with me. He was in his late 60 seconds, still active, still working part-time, the kind of guy who brushed off every symptom because he didn't want to be dramatic. His blood pressure, a little high, but nothing serious. His cholesterol, borderline, but manageable. He sat across from me one afternoon and laughed when I asked about his sleep. "Not great," he said. "But who really sleeps well at my age?" 2 weeks later, his wife found him unresponsive in bed. No chest pain, no emergency call, just silence. When I sat with her afterward, she said the words I've heard too many times. "He was just tired. We thought that was normal." You see, that's the danger. We've normalized the wrong signals. We've been told that poor sleep, nighttime fatigue, snoring, or feeling drained in the morning are just part of getting older. But they're not. Nighttime is when your heart has to work the hardest to stay balanced. Your blood pressure drops, then spikes. Your breathing slows, then shifts. And all the tiny habits you carry into bed can either protect your heart or quietly strain it. This video is not about scaring you. It's about waking you up before something else does. Because what happens during sleep could determine how many mornings you have left. And tonight, I'm going to walk you through 5 invisible mistakes most people make without realizing. Mistakes that don't hurt, don't trigger alarms, but can quietly push the heart past its limit. If you stay with me until the end, I'll also show you 5 simple corrections you can start tonight. No fancy equipment, no expensive tests. Just a few quiet changes that could give your heart exactly what it's been asking for. Not more pills, not more pressure, but rest. Real rest. The kind that heals you while you sleep. Most people never think twice about how they sleep. The day ends, the lights go off, and we settle into the same familiar position we've used for years. For many, that means lying flat on their back, arms by their side, eyes to the ceiling. It feels natural, harmless, comfortable. But for your heart, especially as you age, that position might be placing quiet strain on a system already working overtime. Let me explain. When you lie completely flat, gravity changes how fluid moves in your body. Fluids that were previously distributed throughout your legs, arms, and tissues begin to shift toward your chest. That redistribution increases pressure in your lungs, adds workload to your heart, and challenges its ability to pump efficiently. For someone with perfect heart function, the body adjusts. But for older adults, particularly those with high blood pressure, a history of heart failure, or even subtle cardiac weakness, they haven't yet noticed that shift can make sleep more dangerous than it seems. Some people feel it, but don't realize what it means. They wake in the night short of breath. They instinctively prop themselves up or sleep with extra pillows, not knowing why it helps. Their body has figured out something their mind hasn't yet connected. I remember a woman in her 70 seconds who told me she slept with 3 pillows. "It's just what feels right," she said. But when we looked deeper, it became clear her body had learned to compensate. Elevating her upper body even slightly reduced the congestion, made breathing easier, and most importantly, gave her heart room to rest. That's what we're really talking about here. We're not aiming for perfect posture or some rigid rule about how to sleep. We're talking about small changes that ease the burden on your heart. You don't need a hospital bed. You don't need to sleep sitting up. Even a gentle incline, just a few inches of elevation, can help reduce nighttime fluid shift and lighten the load on your cardiovascular system. A wedge pillow, a couple of folded towels under your upper mattress, even just finding a position where your chest is slightly higher than your stomach, that's often enough. Because again, This isn't about what feels dramatic. It's about what makes a difference when your heart is at its most vulnerable. I've seen it more times than I can count. People who never thought their sleeping position mattered until we made a small change. And their nighttime symptoms, shortness of breath, racing heart, sudden waking, began to ease. So tonight, take a moment. Notice how you sleep and ask yourself, not what's most familiar, but what's most forgiving. Because your heart may be asking for a little more support than you've realized. Most people never think twice about how they sleep. The day ends, the lights go off, and we settle into the same familiar position we've used for years. For many, that means lying flat on their back, arms by their side, eyes to the ceiling. It feels natural, harmless, comfortable. But for your heart, especially as you age, that position might be placing quiet strain on a system already working overtime. Let me explain. When you lie completely flat, gravity changes how fluid moves in your body. Fluids that were previously distributed throughout your legs, arms, and tissues begin to shift toward your chest. That redistribution increases pressure in your lungs, adds workload to your heart, and challenges its ability to pump efficiently. For someone with perfect heart function, the body adjusts. But for older adults, particularly those with high blood pressure, a history of heart failure, or even subtle cardiac weakness, they haven't yet noticed that shift can make sleep more dangerous than it seems. Some people feel it, but don't realize what it means. They wake in the night short of breath. They instinctively prop themselves up or sleep with extra pillows, not knowing why it helps. Their body has figured out something their mind hasn't yet connected. I remember a woman in her 70s who told me she slept with 3 pillows. It's just what feels right, she said. But when we looked deeper, it became clear her body had learned to compensate. Elevating her upper body even slightly reduced the congestion, made breathing easier, and most importantly, gave her heart room to rest. That's what we're really talking about here. We're not aiming for perfect posture or some rigid rule about how to sleep. We're talking about small changes that ease the burden on your heart. You don't need a hospital bed. You don't need to sleep sitting up. Even a gentle incline, just a few inches of elevation, can help reduce nighttime fluid shift and lighten the load on your cardiovascular system. A wedge pillow, a couple of folded towels under your upper mattress, even just finding a position where your chest is slightly higher than your stomach, that's often enough. Because again, this isn't about what feels dramatic. It's about what makes a difference when your heart is at its most vulnerable. I've seen it more times than I can count. People who never thought their sleeping position mattered until we made a small change. And their nighttime symptoms, shortness of breath, racing heart, sudden waking, began to ease. So tonight, take a moment. Notice how you sleep and ask yourself, not what's most familiar, but what's most forgiving. Because your heart may be asking for a little more support than you've realized. There's something millions of people take before bed, believing it will help them rest. A sleep aid. It might be a familiar bottle from the pharmacy shelf, a nighttime pain reliever, a tablet of melatonin, or something stronger, prescribed by a doctor months or even years ago. Whatever it is, it's taken with the best of intentions. To fall asleep, to finally quiet the mind, to stop tossing and turning. But what if the thing you believe is helping is quietly putting your heart at risk? The truth is, many sleep aids, especially in older adults, don't just make you drowsy. They affect your breathing. They lower your oxygen levels. They slow your heart rate in unnatural ways. And in some cases, they increase the risk of heart rhythm disturbances during the night. What's most dangerous is that they don't make you feel worse. You don't wake up gasping. There's no alarm in your body. Just a slow, subtle shift inside your nervous system. A dip in oxygen. A change in electrical rhythm. And sometimes, that's all it takes. I've reviewed autopsy reports. I've sat with families who had no idea that the simple sleep pill their loved one had taken was the last thing they'd ever swallow. There was no sign. No warning, just a quiet exit, sometime between midnight and morning. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying every sleep aid is toxic. I'm not saying no one should ever use them, but I am saying this. If you're over 60 and taking anything to help you sleep, even occasionally, you need to ask a very specific question. Not just, is this safe? But, is this safe for my heart while I sleep? Because the way a drug behaves in your body during the day is not always the same way it behaves in the stillness of the night. At night, your body is in repair mode. Your heart is trying to slow down. Your brain is regulating your breathing in different rhythms. If a chemical disrupts that delicate process, even slightly, it can tip the balance, especially if you snore, or stop breathing occasionally during the night, or wake up feeling tired despite sleeping for hours. These are not just quirks of aging. They're signs that your body is struggling under stress you cannot see. And the wrong medication taken at the wrong time can push that struggle beyond its limit. I once asked a man why he didn't tell me he was using a sleep aid. He shrugged and said, "I only take it when I really need to. But sometimes, once is enough, especially when your heart is already vulnerable." So if you use something to help you sleep, even just once in a while, please look closer. Ask the right questions. Read the label again. Speak to your doctor, not just about side effects, but about how that pill might interact with your heart while you rest. Because sleep is meant to be recovery, and no pill is worth a risk your heart cannot take. We like to laugh about snoring. It's one of those things couples joke about. He snores like a bear. She could wake the whole neighborhood. It becomes background noise in many relationships. A sign of deep sleep. Something annoying, maybe. But harmless? Not always. In fact, snoring can be one of the loudest warnings the heart gives you, even when you're sound asleep. Because what most people don't realize is that snoring, especially loud and irregular snoring, often signals something far more serious, a condition called sleep apnea. And it doesn't just affect your breathing. It puts powerful, invisible strain on your heart, hour after hour, night after night. Here's what happens. When someone has sleep apnea, their breathing stops temporarily during sleep, sometimes for seconds, sometimes longer. The brain, sensing the drop in oxygen, jolts the body just enough to resume breathing. It might not wake you fully, but inside, the stress is real. That repeated pattern, stop breathing, restart, over and over, causes your oxygen levels to fall. In your heart, it scrambles to compensate. It beats faster. It works harder. It pushes through those drops in oxygen like a runner gasping for air. This isn't just a little disruption. Over time, these episodes create an environment where the heart is constantly under pressure at night. And that's when things begin to shift. Blood pressure rises. Heart rhythm becomes unstable. Inflammation increases. And suddenly, a heart that looked fine during the day starts showing warning signs, only at night. I remember one man who told me his sleep was pretty good. He never remembered waking up. But when I asked about snoring, his wife laughed from the other room. "He sounds like a chainsaw," she said. He thought it was nothing. But a home sleep study revealed dozens of oxygen drops each night. Once we treated his apnea, something changed. His energy returned. His blood pressure stabilized. And his heart rhythm, which had shown nighttime irregularities, smoothed out. You see, your body doesn't always tell you what's wrong in words. Sometimes it speaks through symptoms you've learned to ignore. Morning headaches, waking up tired, gasping in the night, waking with a racing heart, night sweats, restless tossing and turning. These aren't just signs of bad sleep. They are signs of a heart that's working too hard in the dark. And the most dangerous thing you can do is write them off as just getting older. Aging does change your sleep, yes, but it doesn't cause you to stop breathing. It doesn't cause your heart to panic while you rest. That's not aging. That's your body asking for help. So please, if you snore loudly, if you feel tired no matter how long you sleep, if your partner notices pauses in your breathing, don't brush it off. Because snoring isn't always a joke. Sometimes, it's the sound of your heart struggling to keep up. We often think of stress as something we feel during the day. A bill that needs paying, a phone call that didn't go well, a memory that keeps replaying in your mind. And by the time we crawl into bed, We assume those feelings will simply fade. After all, the lights are off. The house is quiet. You're finally lying down. Shouldn't your body know it's time to rest? But here's the truth. Your heart doesn't follow the clock. It follows your nervous system. If you carry tension, worry, or frustration into bed, even if you don't feel it as intensely, your heart does. It feels it in the way your breathing stays shallow, in the way your blood pressure stays elevated, in the way stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline linger long past their welcome. I've seen this pattern again and again. Patients with stable results during the day, normal EKGs, good blood pressure. But at night, the story changes. Their heart rhythm becomes erratic. Their pressure fluctuates. Their oxygen dips. And there's no medication to blame, no major illness, just one common thread. They went to bed with a heart that never got permission to rest. One woman told me, "Nighttime is when my thoughts get loud." And that's exactly when her heart was under the most strain. She wasn't in danger because of what she ate or how she exercised. It was what she carried with her into the dark. You see, sleep isn't a switch. It's a process. And like any process, it has a beginning, a transition, a chance to step away from the chaos of the day and gently prepare your body for healing. But too many people skip that step. They watch the news right before bed. They argue. They scroll through headlines designed to alarm. They lie down with shoulders tight, breathing fast, and minds racing. And the heart? It never gets the signal that it's safe. From a medical perspective, this matters. Because nighttime is when your body is supposed to shift into a parasympathetic state, a healing mode. But if your mind is still in fight or flight, that healing can't begin. And your heart ends up spending all night on high alert. Over time, that tension accumulates. It disrupts sleep quality. It weakens resilience. And in some cases, it contributes to the very events we try so hard to avoid: nighttime arrhythmias, pressure spikes, even sudden cardiac arrest in the early morning hours. But here's the good news. This is one of the easiest patterns to change. It doesn't require medicine. It doesn't need a prescription. It just needs a decision. A choice to create space between your day and your sleep. To give your heart a message it can finally respond to. That might look like dimming the lights, sitting quietly for 10 minutes, taking deep, slow breaths, praying, stretching, or simply saying to yourself, "It's over now. You're safe. You can rest." It may sound simple, even silly, but I promise you, your heart listens. And when it hears safety, it lets go. And that, more than anything, is the signal it's been waiting for. Sometimes, the most dangerous habits are the ones that feel normal. Skipping a glass of water, lying flat because it's familiar, reaching for a sleep aid without thinking twice, ignoring the snoring because it's been there for years, carrying stress to bed like an old companion. None of it feels risky. None of it sounds like an emergency. And that's exactly why it matters. Because the heart doesn't wait for warning signs. It doesn't flash a red light before something goes wrong. It simply absorbs the strain until it can't anymore. But tonight, you have something powerful. You have awareness. And with that, you have a choice. Not a dramatic overhaul. Not a strict new routine. Just a few simple shifts that speak directly to your heart. So tonight, before you close your eyes, do this. Drink a small glass of water, not too late, but not too early. Raise your upper body just a few inches, enough to ease the pressure. Double-check any medication you take before bed. Ask the question you might have missed before. Is this truly heart-safe? If you've been snoring, gasping, or waking up exhausted, don't ignore it. And most importantly, give your heart a reason to relax. Dim the lights. Breathe slowly. Let go of the day. It's not about being perfect. It's about being kind to your body when it needs it most. You see, sleep isn't just where recovery happens. It's where protection begins. And when you give your heart that chance, just a little extra care, a little less strain, you may just wake up stronger than the day before. Now let me ask you something. Which one of these 5 habits did you recognize in yourself? And more importantly, Which one will you change tonight? If this video opened your eyes or made you think differently about your heart, I invite you to do something simple but meaningful. Click the like button. Share this with someone you care about, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, and leave a comment below. Tell me which small shift you're going to try first. Your story might be the one that helps someone else sleep more safely tonight. And if you'd like more heart-healthy guidance, don't forget to subscribe. You're not alone in this. And it's never too late to start giving your heart the rest it deserves.